What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. Here to talk some Green Bay Packers, talk some NFL draft, maybe a little free agency. We'll see which direction the show goes in as we are approaching Combine Week, and really excited about all the buzz around the NFL Combine in the great city of Indianapolis, Indiana, and going to get even more information on these players, these prospects that are soon to be pros. I know this, Tim, there's a bunch of news that kind of came out today that we're going to walk through social media and take a look at, one of which involves Shedeur Sanders, which really kind of caught me a little off guard. Another one's going to include Matthew Stafford. We'll kind of dive into all that and how it may or may not shake up free agency and even the draft. Who knows? But how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Great Saturday, Got some stuff done today. Happy to talk some ball, man. How you doing?
Not as good as you, man. Obviously, you did a little poking around there in Green Bay and stumbled across a Brett Favre rookie card, man.
I sure did. Sure did. At the thrift shop, Gotta love it, man.
I've been on the horn with Lambo today over at the tours department, and I've got a name and number to call on Monday so we can see about setting up a group tour. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds until we know for sure that it's possible there during draft week. We'll try to decide. I'll ask them, hey, what day would make the most sense that we could just about guarantee to get everybody in. Then I'll come up with a number. There's going to be limited slots, obviously, and we'll see how we can go about getting organized on that. It's going to be, like I said, with the Patreon group. Anyone who's a Patreon member will open up to you guys, and there may be limited slots, and then we'll have to kind of, I don't know, we'll have to come up with something. I doubt there's going to be that many people interested in going on the tour with us. But if it's something where, hey, they're only allowing us 20 slots and we got 30 people that want to do it, maybe we do some kind of charity, raise a little money for a good cause. Say, hey, whoever donates, you get first dibs type thing, and we will match that as well. Obviously, we'll throw in one donation as well. So, but I did get contacted today by a gentleman, and I don't want to give too much information here on the air, but he's a listener. His name's Greg. And he may pop up in the chat, and if he does, he may say it's okay, give all the info you want. Long story short, without going and reading the email word for word, he helps manage some properties in the Fox Valley area. It sounds like they're going to have some properties come available for renting the week of the draft. So when I get more information back from him, what I will do, I'll ask him what information can I share, and we'll pass it along here within the Patreon group and anyone else that wants access to it. So you guys can you might stumble onto a property that you can stay at, obviously rent off of this management company. So we will definitely keep you guys in the loop on that right there as well. So
that's awesome, especially for people last minute trying to figure out some accommodations. Maybe you've got a way up here and you're ready to go, but nowhere to stay. That's awesome.
Definitely. It's really cool networking, man, with Packer fans, because, again, this is someone who listens to the show, or at least he said he was. Maybe he was just trying to be nice. Like, yeah, I know of it. I don't listen to that garbage. But it was cool that he reached out, and we'll see if we can help him out and he can help us out. So just an awesome, group of people in Wisconsin. To me, how do you say it, Tim? Wisconsinites, is that right?
Wisconsinites.
They seem very, very similar. Scotties. You're allowed to say that. I'm not. Just like a million allowed to use derogatory Mexican terms that we're not allowed to. He's got the card there. He can do that. But I don't know, man. Wisconsinites seem very, very similar to Tennesseans down here. I don't know maybe that's why I really connected with the state of Wisconsin when we went up the first time. But it's really cool getting to know people, and we got a lot of listeners and viewers, obviously, in the Milwaukee area, which is absolutely awesome, man. So,
in the words of Charlie Barron's, you betcha.
Exactly. But we will see what we can do to try to get everybody hooked up with the best experience possible there for the draft, and if anything, just kind of network together. So, all right, let's jump into some of the news here. As we went off the air last night, Easton Butler had tweeted this out, and I missed it.
Here's the guy.
I want to mention this. Wagner cornerback Kobe Calvin's agent met with 3 teams at the, I hope I'm saying this right, podium? Is that how you would say that? Podium?
That's what it looks like, yeah. Y instead of an I. Yeah, podium.
Right. All-Star Bowl, the Packers, Eagles, and Commanders. So keep an eye out for a Kobe Calvin, another name late in the draft, potentially cornerback that might be on the Packers' radar. Just wanted to hit that.
Can he play in the slot?
That's a great question, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we have too much on him. Let me do a quick search because I want to say I tried to go through and try to find some info and could not. Yeah, I don't have any info on him yet. There's several of these players. Like we'll get to the Patreon questions and comments here in a minute. Where I'm trying to remember who. I think it was Greg S in that chat that gave us info on wrestlers. With wrestling background, and we 3 of them pretty big names. 2 of them we have no information on whatsoever. So as we get closer to the draft, maybe we'll get some more info on them, but we'll keep you posted. Obviously, having a wrestling background, especially in the trenches, tends to, obviously put people in a little bit better standing with scouts. And when it comes to offensive line, Tim, we've talked about it over and over and over. It seems like every time somebody's mentioned as a wrestler, you look up in 2 years and you're like, man, they're a damn good NFL football player. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, it does. The skill sets seem to translate for sure, right?
Yeah.
Especially on the line like that. Shout out to Biz in the chat. Kobe looks athletic. That's a good start.
He does, man.
That looks like a beast.
Especially as a corner, right? Like that dude looks,
He almost looks like a linebacker kind of build.
Yeah. And the 46 helps, but it's funny how a number does help in that regard. But yeah, he looks like he's a little bit thicker corner for sure. So, all right, man, let's move it along here. Next thing, I thought this was interesting. So, Paul Rogan, no relation to Joe Rogan, to the best of my knowledge, on Twitter, Rogan Living Life at Rogan Living Life, said he tagged me and said, use Grok AI and ask, quote, taking into account the All-Pro and Pro Bowl NFL players, which 2025 college defensive tackles will be All-Pro in the NFL, and check out its response. So I thought, what the heck, why not do it, right? Obviously, it's compiling a bunch of data and probably comparing size, probably comparing drafts, draft position. I don't know what all that compares. I did the search there on Grok, and this is what it came up with. This was really interesting to me, Tim. It says, based on this analysis, and keep in mind, there was like 6 paragraphs, and this is the one that summed it up the best for me, okay? So this is just one of those paragraphs. It said, based on this analysis, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant had the highest likelihood of becoming NFL All-Pros. Graham's polish and 3-down impact give him the edge, while Grant's raw physical gifts and upside make him a close second. Deion Walker has the potential but needs refinement, placing him 3rd. Tyleik Williams could get there with development. Tim, the way I was understanding this was that was the order in which they listed. These are the players that they felt like, from the defensive tackle standpoint, the 2025 NFL draft, have the best shot of being All-Pros or Pro Bowl type players, right? All-Pro players, what it says. Mason Graham 1, Kenneth Grant 2. By the way, I believe, let me double check. I think that's the order in which we have it. Mason Graham, we've got as the 4th best prospect, our top defensive tackle. And I didn't put any of this information into Grok. I didn't cheat, I promise. Kenneth Grant is 15th. He's our 2nd best defensive tackle. All right. And then 3rd, it says Deion Walker. Now,
who?
Exactly, Tim. Deion Walker's a little bit lower on our board. Let me see if I can run him down without searching. I may have to search here. Deion Walker, where are you, sir? Here we go. We've got him in the 115 spot, right? Yep. Now, why is he in the 115 spot? His PFF 2024 grade was significantly lower, right? So that coupled with his 23 grade, which he was 43rd best in 2024, he was 257th best at his position. PFF Big Board had him at 73. Consensus Big Board had him at 50. Dane Brugler had him at 76. So he's sitting in the 115 spot. According to Grok, he's the one to go, hey, this might be the steal right here.
Thick.
It listed him over these other players. Like, it listed him over Tyleik Williams, and Tyleik Williams is in the 37th spot for us.
I was going to say, that's the most interesting to me. I mean, you guys know I'm high on Deion Walker. I've been that way for the last, better part of the last 2 months, but I never had Deion Walker higher than Tyleik Williams. So that's kind of interesting to see that it's kind of shaping out that way according to the AI.
Yeah. And then Derek Harmon, we've gotten the 24 spot. He's not even mentioned here, right? Walter Nolan. We talked a lot about Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan's now dipped down to 23 for us. You guys know he started really high on the board, and he has since kind of went down as we put more information in, although he did pretty much dominate at the Senior Bowl. It's just interesting, man. So, again, I'm not saying this is how it's going to shake out. I just know this. When we look up in 3 to 4 years, I hope we remember this conversation. And if it did shake out, we may have been missing the boat for 3 years, not asking Grok, hey, bro, which one should we draft here? So if you guys do not use Grok on X, it's a really cool tool. If you know how to use it, and I don't, right? I'm still learning.
You're still learning, though, as you go.
Man, I did a thing the other day, and I just asked, hey, rank this for me. Bro, it threw it up in word form, threw it up in a graph. I was like, holy cow, man, this is really interesting. So anyway, just keep an eye on those players mentioned there. And Tyleek Williams, again, one of those guys that 33rd team had him 47th. Dane Brugler has him 33rd. Daniel Jeremiah doesn't even have him in the top 50, right? And the big thing that helped him was the PFF Big Board had him at 24 at season's end. So going to be interesting, man. Anything you want to add to that conversation?
Yeah, shout out to Prince in the chat. Tim has never heard of Deion Walker before. Yes, that is true. I've never heard of that guy.
Exactly. What is this?
And I've never heard of Jaden Higgins either.
2-0 for this said, I asked Grok to show me Josh Allen feeding Morgan Freeman a Kit Kat. Wild results. I can only imagine what that image looked like. Unbelievable, man. And you can do that. You can type in anything and tell it to create an image, and it will. And some of them, they'll come out with, a third eye in the middle of their forehead and stuff like that, but it's interesting. It's a good laugh. All right. So there is your Grok talk, your AI talk of the day. This cracked me up, Tim. This came across. I was like, I got to quote tweet this.
Yes. I saw this, dude. You had me dying when you retweeted this. This is great.
Felipe Reyes Acetti, I hope I'm saying that correctly, put this out. Someone had tweeted out, without Googling, name a famous historic battle. And he just tweeted out a side-by-side shot of our boy Zadarius Smith and the captain pack.
Here's a guy.
I'm telling you, Tim, this broke me up when I seen it. I'm like, there is no better answer to that question. How the heck it doesn't have more likes than 1,600 is beyond me.
Heard it from a fan right here.
Oh, what a knucklehead that dude turned out to be. My gosh. All right. Moving along. Rev Trev just put a tweet out. He's a follower of the show. We follow him over on X as well. Great dude. At Rev Trev NFL. Give him a follow. Give him a shout out. Packers need a wide receiver. Which one should they get? And he just kind of limited it to 3. Tim, if you had to choose one of these 3, all right. And I want to know what the chat too here. You guys let us know. All right.
One of these 3. Okay.
Which one of these 3 receivers would you pick if you had to pick one? Looks like it
Out
is
of those 3.
Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, and T. Higgins. I think I know who you're going with here.
I think you do. Go ahead and tell them.
I believe Tim would go with Devontae Adams. I'm going to sip my last drink of coffee here. What do you think, Tim? It was all right?
You were absolutely 100% correct.
Here's a guy.
Yeah, the Deebo thing, man, really bothers me. Being out of shape and kind of causing problems there on the sidelines and all that. The T. Higgins thing, listen, T. Higgins, he may just go absolutely off as a true number 1.
Yeah.
So I'm not ruling that out. I'm just simply saying for $25 million plus, if that's what it's going to cost, I'm a little nervous about the whole, the holding out and this and that. That's, I don't know. There's just something doesn't quite feel right there for me. So
yeah, for sure. I'd say in order, I'd go Tay, then Higgins, and then Deebo.
Absolutely.
In that order. Yeah.
I would go Tay, Higgins, then Dontavion Wicks, then Jaden Reed, then Romeo Dobbs. Then I would go Deebo.
If Deebo wants to come here and return kicks and punts, take a pay cut and do that, I'm down. But yeah, I don't think I put him first on my list of field tilting receivers at this point. All
right. I like what 2-0 for this says here. He says Devontae is the only wide receiver 1 on there. I can't argue with that. And again, T. Higgins may change that this year. We'll see wherever he lands. But looks like everybody in the chat pretty much on the same page here, right? Yeah, yep. Chuck Goodman, Devontae, hands down. Coach Lynn says Darius Slayton. Chuck Goodman says Devontae, hands down.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Devontae is the only wide receiver there, says 2-0 for this. Holmes says Tay. Fred McFarley says DK Metcalf. United Bates, Tay would be my vote. I agree.
Yeesh.
Andy, is Metcalf available? He is not currently. There's been rumors he may get traded. So you know how this time of the year is there. Andy, good to see you in here, buddy. Hopefully you're doing well. Holmes MD1. Debo is washed. Heck no. Can't argue with that, man. Coach Lynn said if Debo loses 20 pounds, I'd be interested. Man, he's looking thick. He is looking thick. He looked like he's
thick
or something. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there. So let's see. Anybody else? Nope. Nobody else. We're good. All right. So let's move it along here. Next on the docket, This is a little bit of news that we talked about earlier in the year, and I kind of got scoffed at when I mentioned it because, yeah, I got my information from this 2 years ago from Michael Lombardi. And Michael Lombardi wasn't saying Matthew Stafford's not going to play for the Rams this year. He wasn't saying that 2 years ago. He was saying, I know without a shadow of a doubt, the Rams have been shopping Matthew Stafford. And nobody else had talked about it. Michael Lombardi was talking about it on the GM Shuffle. And then the next year, same thing, but there was no takers because of the contract. It sounds like now it's kind of out in the public eye. I'm interested to see exactly how this ends. But Ian Rappaport had tweeted out, echoing reporting from Tom Pelissero, the Rams have given permission for Matthew Stafford's agent to speak with other teams about his value. This is not a trade request. So it's just funny that it's like they're still holding out hope that they can work something out. But I'm thinking what this is all about, Tim, is they want him to restructure that deal. And they're pushing back. And he's going, you know what? Go to every other team in the league. And, we're not worried about trade compensation at this point. Ask every team in the league, hey, would you be interested in me? Okay, cool. If you could work out a trade, how much would you pay me? And then come back to us. That's what it sounds like. I want to get your take on it. I'm going to go to Spot Track real quick and see exactly how his contract's structured because this is a very, very fascinating topic for me, man.
I think it's interesting, and I love how Rapp put it in his tweet. This is not a trade request. This is not a trade request, but I think all signs point to the at least a 50-50 chance that good old Matty Ice is not he's not a Ram next year, regardless of how it comes to fruition. But I think it's fair because Matt Stafford, we already know he's a dog. You can't watch this game and not respect the way Matt Stafford plays the position. So I think there's probably at least a handful of teams that would be interested in a guy like him, even at this stage of his career. And I think it's totally fair for him and his representation to say, hey, let's see what the market really looks like,
Yeah, I think so too. And when you look at his contract, it's kind of what I was thinking here. 2025, $49.6 million cap hit. Dead cap, 49.3. So you would only free up $300,000 to him. That's it. Okay. If you just cut him outright or traded him and the contract stayed the way it was. But his base salary is $23 million. Okay. His roster bonus is $4 million. What they will probably do is get him to go across the league and see if he can get a better deal. If so, then they'll maybe talk trade with that team. If that doesn't happen, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, if you've heard different reports, if I'm looking at this totally different, this is just kind of going off cuff here. If they can't find anything in terms of a contract, then they would go back to him and say, okay, we want you back for another year. Let's convert some of this base salary to guaranteed money. Let's say it's, the $23 million in base salary. What if they said, we want you to take a $10 million pay cut? All right. If you take a $10 million pay cut, then we'll take of the remaining $13 million, we'll guarantee 7 of it. You see what I'm saying? So $7 million signing bonus, they get a huge cap relief, and Matt Stafford kind of knows his worth. That's what I could see happening. Now, he could hold their feet to the fire here and play or either force them to cut him. Then he can choose where he wants to go, right? And, of course, all their free ends up $300,000. I'm telling you right now, what the Rams want is they want Matt Stafford to either be traded for a haul of picks, or, and they're not going to say that at this point, this stage in the game, or they want him back pennies on the dollar there. And then when you get into 2026, his cap hit jumped to 53.6. His dead cap's only 22.6. So once you get past this year, you can free up $31 million. You understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it's structured. So with that being said, man, I don't know how this will play out. It's interesting that rap sheet worded it that way. It says instead the Rams and Stafford can gain a better understanding of his value outside the team, potentially making it easier to get a contract done. That remains the hope that outside help can assist engage in the market and seeing his value, and that this results in his return to LA. You know what I would do if I was Matt Stafford? I'd say, let's see, the 49ers are in that division, right? I'd go to the 49ers and go, hey, man, what do you think I'm worth? And the 49ers would go, man, you're worth $80 million per year. That's what they said.
Not that market.
They'll probably, it sounds like they got a mutual respect for each other, honestly, the organization and Matt Stafford, and they're just trying to get an honest assessment. It's kind of like arbitration in baseball, let an outside entity kind of look at the market and decide what are you worth? So
that's probably why we're where we are right now, because of that mutual respect. Let's not forget, the Rams traded for him. They wanted to make that deal with Detroit and get him out there. So I think there's a respect level here. I do like what Fred has to say in the chat. What is the Rams plan B? I wonder if they do in fact deal Stafford, then who's QB1 in LA?
We talked about this a little bit, Tim. You know what I think the plan B is? I think it's Aaron Rodgers. What I think.
Ugh.
I think that Aaron can play a lot closer to home out there at his Malibu home. To the best of my knowledge, it was not touched by the fires, so that's a great thing, obviously, for Aaron. And thoughts and prayers still go out to everybody who was affected by that. Man, it could have been prevented. It's just absolutely horrible situation. But yeah, I think that's kind of what they're looking at here. Is like, all right, we've got two options, boys. We could potentially go get Aaron Rodgers, or we could try to get Matt Stafford back on a deal. Regardless, they're probably looking at a certain cap number for both of those guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's definitely not to the tune of, like we said, $49.6 million. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's kind of what I would say. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's another thing too here. 2-0 for this says, what if Stafford follows Cup? You guys know that they basically gave Cooper Kupp the opportunity to go shop himself around. That would be wild.
So Stafford follows Kupp, and then Rodgers and Tay go to the Rams.
And Cooper Kupp was not cut, right, Tim? They're just saying he was.
I don't think so. No,
I think he was just, hey, you can go seek a trade. Get those two. I wouldn't be surprised if those two got together and said, hey, let's go to a team and see if we can get a trade worked out, a team that would want us, type thing.
Yep.
And that would be interesting. It would, man. I'm trying to think of like the Giants had popped up a couple times with Stafford's name mentioned, just, obviously rumors, but that would be an interesting spot there, to go over to the Giants. You already got Malik Neighbors, right?
Yep.
Dexter Lawrence, pretty sure he's still there in the middle at defensive tackle. So if Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp showed up together, as Fred McFarley said here, Kupp not cut yet. If they showed up over there, Malik Neighbors on one side, Cooper Kupp on the other, Matt Stafford, that's a hell of a lot better situation than they were in with Daniel Jones and just Malik Neighbors, right? So
I agree.
And I'm trying to think, when did Daniel Jones get cut? Or did he get traded to the Vikings? I'm trying to remember. I think he got cut and signed.
And then signed with the Vikings last season, right?
It was like in the middle of the season, which is kind of rare that happens. But I guess you do get to save on some of that salary if you do it that way. Prince, Rodgers, Stafford, Cousins, some interesting 1 to 2 year rental vets. It is, man. It really is.
It's a great point.
How cool is it that we got a quarterback and we're not in these conversations either?
Exactly.
Actually, some think we have too. I'm not as sold as on Malik, but I will say this: Malik did everything he was asked to do with his reps, his opportunities. So,
for sure,
that's another thing to keep an eye on too, Tim. Is will Malik Willis get some trade rumors circling around him? That's going to be very. And again, we had this conversation as we headed into the off season. Let's revisit it real quick. Malik Willis, what would it take, Tim, in terms of a trade offer, for you to let go of Malik Willis? He's got 1 more year left on his deal, right? I think we would all agree we're probably not going to re-sign him to a multi-year deal. That's just with the way that Jordan's contract structured. He's obviously QB1. What do you think, man? What would you say, hey, yeah, that's worth it? Because I think my assessment's a little bit higher than most. I want to get yours before I talk about mine again.
Second or third rounder would be nice, or third, fourth, or fifth rounder in a player or something. Pick up a tackle or a interior O lineman or something like that. But that's the homer in me, right? Obviously, we're pretty high on Malik Willis, and honestly, I do feel like you look at some of these teams in search of a quarterback. I think arguably Malik Willis could probably start on a handful of these teams and be an improvement on what they have. So I would love to see at least first round picks probably out of the equation. Even a second round might be a reach, but anything in that 2, 3, or 4 round range would be nice.
Yeah, Coach Lynn says someone would be calling for Malik. I can see that, man. I really could. Let's see. Coach Lynn says I'd take a third, so third round for him. You said 2 to 3. Is that right, Tim?
Yep.
Okay. 2-0 for this says, quiet your tongue, Clayton. Willis is staying. Hey, I'm with you there, man. That's what I was saying last year is once he showed, wow, Matt LaFleur can kind of build an offense around him that's run-centric, and allow him to dink and dunk. And listen, he had a couple really good throws down the field too. We were there in Tennessee, man, when he dropped that dime down the sideline to Christian Watson.
Don't sleep on that release, man. One of the quickest releases in the NFL, honestly, starter or backup. Malik Willis is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. I think AFAM does make a good point here. He says we didn't ride the hot hand with Malik and rush Jordan back.
That's true.
I agree. We did rush Jordan back. And the fact that you won 2 games like you did, the only 2 games he started, right, Tim? Malik.
Yep.
So why not stick with it and let him get a little healthier? I guess they looked at it like this is the healthiest he's going to get. It's not like whether he plays on it or not. We know 100% there was no risk of him hurting it further. But as you could see, that collateral damage with the whole what was it, the groin, right? The groin injury because of the knee and the brace and everything. Definitely.
Yeah, we saw that Malik had to come in and finish the game. Jordan had to exit early. There's some logic to what AFAM's saying there. Like maybe if you just would have started him, you don't have that setback. You just ride the hot hand. You give Jordan that extra, 1 to 2 or 3 weeks to kind of get back as close to 100%, then put him back out there. I would agree with that. One of the rare times I agree with AFAM here.
That doesn't involve the Kansas City Chiefs, right? United Bates says Jones asked to be released on November 22nd, 2024, signed with the Vikings on the 29th. So there you go. Appreciate you looking that up for us. Deadfish says number 2 pick, talking about a second round pick. Chris N, a.k.a. Goot Jr., Willis is so important to keep him in Green Bay this year. I can't argue with that either. Holmes, keep Willis for 1 to 2 years. I wouldn't let him go for anything less than a third. Well, you're not going to be able to keep him for 2 years, Holmes, because he's going to want a contract. And the only option you would have, to the best of my knowledge, would be a franchise tag. Although, Tim, I'm trying to think. They traded for him. It's a rookie deal. Yeah, no, there wouldn't be any kind of restriction on him. I think he would be an unrestricted free agent this coming off season. Or the next off season, I should say. So, yeah, let's see. Carly Ray in the chat says, I agree. Keep Malik and then trade him for a high first-round pick next year. That's the thing, Carly. He's when you say next year, you got to mean this upcoming season, right?
Yeah,
He's just got 1 year left on his rookie deal. So,
and he'd have to play a lot of football in 2025 to garner a first-round pick, probably.
Oh, yeah. I personally don't see a scenario where it would be a first-round pick, but I will say this. His value is going to be greater before the draft, in my opinion. Now, maybe after the draft, if a team doesn't get a quarterback like they wanted, maybe his value increases a little bit. But if there's just a handful of teams that's truly looking into the Malik Willis market and they land their quarterback, that value can go down as well. So I feel like right now would be the time to shop him if you're going to. Just make sure teams know he's available without getting too vocal about it in the media so it doesn't upset Malik, although he's a big boy. He knows what's on the line. He's probably looking at Jordan going, okay, I'm not going to start here as long as J-Love's healthy. I want to go somewhere and make a name for myself. I could see that as well. But, yeah,
I agree. And if you see a move made before the draft, then there's logic to what we discussed that the Packers might, in fact, draft a quarterback in those middle to later rounds. Somebody falls on the board. It's not out of the realm of possibility, especially given the track record of how we roll at the quarterback position here.
Yeah, definitely 2-0 for this. Willis on the Rams would be dangerous. That would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Already got a true number 1 in Puka Nacua. Got a solid back there in Kyron Williams, I think is his name, from Notre Dame. So, yeah.
Indianapolis could be another team.
Yeah, if they don't like Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson.
Which I think they're kind of, it's like depends on who you talk to, right?
Right.
Kind of like flip a coin. Who's high on him and who's low on him. It's kind of a 50-50 at this point.
He was one of those players that was high on our draft board, but I was very, very low on him in my personal evaluation. I try not to even mention my personal evaluation because it doesn't matter. I'm not a scout. I don't try to pretend to be like one on Twitter. It just cracks me up, people on Twitter, man. You put draft information. It's amazing how these people that they just jump in there and they speak like they're the authority. And I'm like, man, I hope someday to have your confidence.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
Right. I can't bring myself to go, no, I watched him. He's got a great release and he's solid. He's a number 2 quarter. It's like, all right, man, you're way better than me. And I need to get some of your confidence. I'll just leave it at that. Prince in the chat, end of third would be highest comp you could possibly get. I think Willis would need to impress in preseason before any serious calls. That's a great point too, Prince. Yep. Go out and ball out in the preseason. That could increase the stock. And what he's talking about there, the highest that you could get in terms of a comp pick, which would not come in 2026. It would come in 2027, right? If he plays the 2025 season for us,
yep.
Now the comp pick would come in the 2026 draft, right? If somebody, no, I think it's 1 year after that. I need to double check that. But I think that's a pretty fair assessment there, though, Prince. Blake B, how about we go 15-1? Then Willis has his Matt Flynn game against NFC North team week 18 and gets a bag. Well, if he gets the bag, like you said, we could get a third rounder eventually for him, right? But a third rounder 2 years from now is the equivalent to a fourth rounder this year. I think I'm looking at it, Blake, honestly, like my value of him in terms of I'm not saying this is what he's worth. What I'm saying is this is what it would take for me to let go of Malik Willis this year. Yeah. To me, it would be a second-round pick. Like a third-round pick sounds great, and that's a hell of a flip from 7 to a 3. I'm not saying Goody wouldn't take that. I could see that. If you're willing to trade Rasul Douglas, who was, in my opinion, our best corner at the time.
He was the best guy around.
Passer rating when targeted suggested that. And you were to give him up for a third-round pick, I'd have a hard time believing that Goody wouldn't give up his backup quarterback for a third-round pick too. And here's the other thing, Tim. The right quarterback might fall to Goody in this draft, and boom, you're willing to let go of him now for less, right? Yeah, maybe even a 5th or 6th.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's not a super deep quarterback draft, but there's some talent there. There is. You can't overlook that for sure.
Yeah, Fred McFarley said, damn, I agree with AFAN. There you go.
AFAN First time for everything, Fred. I'm right there with you.
There you go. All right, let's move it along here real quick as the time's creeping up on us. This was interesting to me, Tim. You guys know how I feel about Greg Cosell, right? I think he's one of, if not the best in the business.
He was the best guy around.
Breaking down the tape, right? This was interesting. Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast said, quote, I've spoken to people who think in an ideal world, he's a late first, early second round type player. That's Greg Cosell on Shedeur Sanders. I thought this was fascinating because on our draft board, we have Shedeur Sanders as the 11th best prospect. Now, here I want to explain what we talk about. Greg Cosell is also the person that says there's 2 drafts every April. There's the quarterback draft, and then there's the NFL draft. And what he means by that is quarterbacks are so much more valuable than every other position across the league. Typically, what I've noticed is quarterbacks will go at least 1 tier higher than their grade. So if you were to look at it that way, Shedeur Sanders has a 17.9 grade on our board. That means he should be inside the top 15 grade, okay? Meaning, 14.9 to, 11 or to 10, I'm sorry. If you go in the right order, 10 to 14.9 should be the tier that he's actually in. Now, Cameron Ward, we have a 12.1 grade on. He's the 7th best quarterback in the draft. He would fall inside that 5 to 9.9 tier. So he's still 1 tier higher than Shedeur, but I say that because that would suggest that Shedeur should be a borderline top 10 pick. Now, with Greg Cosell's comment here, Tim, what I do want to mention, he didn't say this is how he feels about him, right? He didn't say, right, I think he's a late first, early second rounder. He said, based off people he's spoken to, that's what they're telling him. Now, right, these people sharing information like this too, what have we talked about? This is no different, in my opinion, than, I'm not saying it specifically with this case right here, but this is how it works. If several people across the league met with Greg Cosell or just talking with Greg in passing, say, I see him as a late first, early second, they might be one of a few teams that are looking up and going, we got a top 10 grade on this son of a gun. Let's hope he falls, that could be the case there. So what's your take on that, man? I thought that was really, really interesting. Again, it's not Greg trying to tear anybody down. He's
Right.
just mentioning what he heard. So what do you think?
That's my takeaway, which I think is awesome. Based on the people he's spoken to, which obviously means scouts, it means people in the front offices, people that actually have the ability to, have influence over where their team is going to draft a guy. So it's not his unequivocal opinion, but it's basically an experienced dude saying, hey, I think he's probably late first, early second round. That's just kind of like what's like a loose prediction, basically, not him saying that's his analysis on it. He's basing that on who he's had conversations with. I agree with, our board. I think Shedeur is pretty high up there when it comes to the quarterbacks in this draft. And if you had to ask me, I think he's probably a first round pick this year for sure.
Yeah. And if you're wondering, okay, how did you come up with that grade, Clayton? Here is how he came up with a 17.9 grade on our board and landed in the 11th spot. His PFF 2022 grade, he was the 53rd highest graded quarterback in all of college football. Okay. In 2023, he went from 53rd all the way up to 24th. In 2024, he went from 24th all the way up to 9th. All right. The PFF big board had him in the 42 spot. The consensus big board at the end of the college football season had him second in the entire country. All right. Now you go, okay, let's set that to the side. What does former NFL scout Daniel Jeremiah think about him? He's got him in the 11th spot. Tim, where did we have him on our board again? 11. The same exact spot that Daniel Jeremiah has him, that's where he's sitting on our board. 33rd team and Kyle Krabs has him as 18th. And Dane Brugler has him at 25th. That's how we came up with a 17.9 grade and landing Shedeur in the 11th spot. I think there's no doubt about it. He's going to go first round unless something crazy happens at the combine or in between. I don't even know if he's performing at the combine or not. But I'm assuming he is, maybe not. But I see him being – I would be surprised if he falls out of the top 10. That's me personally. But – so
I agree. I'm just looking at my little short list here. Tyler Shaw out of Louisville, 6'5", 225. Has the body, had a good Senior Bowl appearance. I believe someone that Cosell is pretty high on as well. That could be interesting, possible. I kind of look at Tyler Shaw, and think that he's the borderline late first or early second round type player. I don't know what your thoughts are on him.
Yeah, spell that last name for me, Tim, just so I
Shough out of Louisville.
Yeah.
Little bit older. He's going to be 26 this year. So that might be the only thing really kind of hurting him, I guess, at least with people who think like Goody DiCaprio. But other than that, there may be some teams that are willing to take a shot. But like when I think late first round, early second round type of player, that was the first name that comes to my mind at the quarterback position. I don't know where Shaw is on our board.
Yeah, we've got Tyler Shaw, if that's how you say that name. I've been saying Show, everything. We've got him in the 144 spot.
Okay.
On our board. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason
third round.
The big thing that tears him down on our board is the consensus big board at the end of the year had him in the 308th spot. Dane Brugler has him at 59, though. So he's like, hey, this dude's possibly a second-round pick. So So Turtles in the chat makes a great point here when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Brady and Sanders are connected. Raiders will 100% take him. I don't know if I would say I don't know if I'd say 100% So Turtles, but I think that's the team if I had to put money on it. Because, again, Tom Brady's it sounds like he's been very involved with Dion and helping Shedeur and anything he can do, right? So that's going to be interesting there. To me, he just looks like a Raider, man. I can see him wearing that silver and black, and I got to be real with you. I'm probably going to be rooting for him when he's not playing the Packers. That's just he is a Las Vegas dream for a football player, especially quarterback. I think he would wear it with pride. I think he would bring that swag. Now he's got to do it on the field, obviously, but I like that he plays with a little bit of an edge at the quarterback position. I know that rubs people the wrong way, but that's how Tom Brady was, man. And nobody was complaining when he's winning all those championships. So I think you need a little bit of that. I really do.
For sure.
All right, let's see.
Blake B said Tyler Shough. Shug.
Let me do this. Let me sort.
Too old for this. Says Tyler Shug. Shug, like Suge Knight. Okay.
There it is. That's
like Shug Halfley. I got it. All right. Tyler Shug.
I'm gonna sort my board by quarterbacks. Let me see if I might actually put it up on the. I will. I'm gonna go ahead and close Twitter out. We're good there. Thanks to everybody that we shouted out on Twitter, providing great content there. What I'm gonna do here, Tim, I'm gonna put the board up, and we've got it sorted by quarterback here. Okay. And here's how this is gonna work.
Put our picks up here. There we go.
Yeah. So here we go. Keep in mind, we won't know their overall ranking doing it this way, but we do have their grade on the far right. Here is the order in which we have the quarterbacks graded on our board. Cam Ward, number 1. Shedeur Sanders, number 2. Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, number 3. Jalen Milroe out of Bama, 4. Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, 5.
Yep.
Tyler Huff out of Jacksonville State is 6. Quinn Ewers is 7 out of Texas. Will Howard out of Ohio State is 8. Curtis Rorick is 9. Riley Leonard, 10. Kyle McCord, 11. Garrett Green, 12. Tyler Shao, however you say it again. What was that, 12 or 13, somewhere around that range. Max Brosmer out of Minnesota is next. Bryson Daly is on there, but I have no reason to think he's going to be in the draft. We went ahead and put him on the board. You guys know he played for Army, and I don't know if that's got something to do with his service or what. That's going to come into play there. Then we got Brady Cook, Seth Hennigan, Graham Mertz, Will Rogers, and someone I can never say that name. I always want to say ukulele, but anyway, that's
ukulele. It's kind of like it, right?
When people pronounce it, it sounds nothing like it's spelled. Someone may.
We'll just call him DJ, the QB from Florida State.
Yeah, there you go. He was one that was, very, very highly rated. But boy, you talking about screwing the pooch here, Tim. 2022, he was 79th. 2023, 56. Last year, he dropped all the way to 160th. And the consensus big board had him at 427 at the end of the year. I could not believe that because the year before he was ranked pretty high. So again, quick recap: Cam Ward 1, Shedeur Sanders 2, Dylan Gabriel 3, Jalen Milroe 4, Jackson Dart 5. That's how we have the quarterback set. Another one that dropped significantly was Quinn Ewers, like we talked about. So hands down, the top 2, Cam Ward, he's in a tier above Shedeur Sanders, and then Shedeur Sanders is several tiers above Dylan Gabriel. So, and you got Dylan Gabriel and Jalen Milroe right there in the same tier. They're just 0.2 of a point off from each other. Yep. And then it drops down to Jackson Dart with a 65. So
don't sleep on Jackson Dart though. That's a guy that I could see be a late mover. He could move up the board a little bit, possibly get drafted before a guy like Gabriel or Milroe even. Mm-hmm. I've seen people as high as 2 or 3 on him, Mm-hmm.
If he comes out this year at the combine and lights it up, there's been rumors that he will be a first-round pick. Yep. I don't see it right now, but again, you never know, man. I think there's a chance Dylan Gabriel could be a first-round pick. Jalen, and you know how this goes, Tim. Last year, quarterback last second. I loved watching that live stream back the next day. And Michael Lombardi, just a few minutes into their show on draft night coverage, said, I just got a text that there's going to be, and I can't remember how many were taken. Whatever the number was, he nailed it. He said, I think it was 6 mm-hmm. quarterbacks taken in the first round, or it was 5 and so many picks, whatever it was. And sure enough, it was just bang, 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 bang. That's why I always crack up at the people that pretend like Michael Lombardi doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like that dude is so plugged into the NFL, it's not even funny. Sucks that he's in college now. I know it's great for Bill Belichick, but him following him down to North Carolina, obviously. But anyway, that's the quarterback position. You guys are wondering, why are we spending so much time on quarterback, guys? That's the position that's going to drive this draft. It does it every single year. So
yeah, and we hope lots of them are taken in the first round, right? Like if you're a Packer fan, man, you're hoping for a lot of QBs picked in that first round.
Mm-hmm. You got that right. Let's see here. Let me get my board sorted back to normal, and then we'll get ready to search for some of these prospects as we go to the Patreon group. Thanks to everybody over there providing the questions. This is actually in the favorite draft prospects section here. Is Nebraska Rev said, here are a couple of interesting 3rd and 5th round guys. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas, and Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker from Oregon. Let's start with Alfred Collins, and let's get a quick refresher. Where do we have him at? Tim, you've talked about him several times.
Yes.
We got him in the 40 spot on our board, which is pretty damn solid, man. I guess that's what he's talking about with a third-round pick. Nebraska Rev, if you're referring to Alfred Collins as a third-round pick, that may be where he gets taken. That might be where he's getting mocked on our board. We've got him well within worthy of a second-round pick. But
Yep.
Tim, we got on Alfred Collins there, big dog.
6'5", 320. It's a big dog. That's a big dog right there. And I believe he can play 3-tech. Just looking here. Let's see. almost 300 snaps in the B gap last year, 145 in the A gap. Seems pretty versatile. Just had 1 sack last year, but 17 hurries. I'm trying to look for his do you have the grades on him? On the I'm looking for pressure rate and things like that, but I don't know if he's more of a run stuffer or a pass rusher. That's
you talking about Alfred Collins, right?
Yeah. I haven't done a deep dive quite yet on him.
I'll click on it here. We won't put it on the screen, but I'll give you all that information real quick. So this year, and against PFF grades starting in 22, 68, 79, then 87. He's gotten better every year. Run defense grade 85.0. It's maxed out. Pass rush win rate a little below the 3-quarter mark at 6.9%. True pass set pass rush grade of 77.8 and a pass rush grade of 69.8. That's above the 3-quarter mark. His run stop rate is above the 3-quarter mark as well at 7.4%. Now, Tim, it looks like we had 299 snaps at the 3-tech, and then you had 145 snaps at the 1-tech, and then you had another 129 snaps over tackle. So not only can he play 3-tech, he can play a little 4-tech as well. So he actually played 19 snaps outside of the tackle, meaning a 5, 7, or 9 tech there. So that's really interesting. Like you said, man, that's a massive human being, 6'5", 320. Good God. So
that's a big dog right there. I'm with you. I think he could be a, early to mid second round pick, depending on how things, shape up. But I also think Rev's probably right too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he fell to the 3rd either, the way things can go. So.
All right. Yeah, definitely. All right. Other guy, Jeffrey Bassa out of Oregon. We have him in the 183 spot, Tim. He did get the Senior Bowl bonus, though. He's one of the guys that really flashed at the Senior Bowl, so his stock is probably rising. It looks like the PFF Big Board had him 77th at the end of the season. Consensus Big Board had him at 133. The thing that brung him down was his PFF grades on our board. In 2024, he was the 217th highest graded linebacker. The year before, he was 132nd. So that's why he ends up at the 183 spot. So
which is wild because PFF's got him 100 spots higher than us.
Right.
They've got him at 83 right now.
And that's why it's important. Like, again, it's why we have access to all of this information. So we can look at it and go, PFF's saying that he was 77th at the time, but his grade said he was the 217th best linebacker. How does that make sense?
How does that work? Yeah.
No. So
just looking at him on the surface, though, he looks like, kind of like a Zay McDuffie replacement potentially. 6'2", 235 tackling machine, stack backer. Yep.
Definitely. Greg S. in the chat here over on Patreon says, these are the wrestlers, the guys with wrestling backgrounds. Mason Graham, he was number 2 in the state his senior year, Tim. Obviously, interior defensive tackle, top defensive tackle on our board. I haven't seen a draft board that has a defensive tackle higher than Mason Graham. They've all got him right there at the top. Another one is Jake Swerple, if I'm saying that right. Dual sport college athlete, All-American college wrestler, ranked number 7 in the nation. We did not have him on our board. He is not on the PFF big board. He is not on the consensus big board unless I overlooked him. If you guys know his position, we could try to search the consensus big board in that regard, see if we can get some kind of number on him. I can do it after the show here as well. But again, Jake Swerple is a guy that had a wrestling background. Armand Mimbo, this one's the guy. That's a guy, Tim, that's high on our board. We've talked about him quite a bit. I know I've mentioned a couple times that if Mimbo is there when we pick at 23, I would take him. I know some people don't want us to take another offensive lineman with the 23rd pick. Guys, Armand Mimbo is in the 10 spot for us.
Barely 21 years old, too.
Yeah.
And another one of these guys out of Missouri, right? We talked about that. The talent pool the last 2 to 3 years out of that school is just crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Reeve Munchie. All right, that sounds like one of Jacob's burner accounts on Twitter. Reeve Munchie. Heavyweight state champion. So it's got to be a big boy. I could not find him. I added him to the board, but we have no information on him. We'll do some research, see if we can find a position and all that good stuff. Mike Green, Tim, I didn't know this. He was runner-up in third place in state champs his sophomore and junior year. I'm assuming that was in high school, right? So he's got a wrestling background. Old Mike Green does. So.
Interesting.
No.
Normally you like that on the old line, but Mike Green is on edge, so that means he's got the hands to go with the footwork too. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So that is in the draft prospect section. Let's go over to the questions section real quick and see what questions we got in here. I think we already hit that one. We're good there. Okay, here we go. So Nebraska Rev in the questions chat in our Patreon group. If you guys want to join Patreon, just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. And if you're a member of one of the 3 tiers, we enter you into the giveaways. We're going to be doing a giveaway coming up here real soon. And also you have access to all of these chats. And also we're going to open up that if we can do some kind of stadium tour and do it together, it'll be kind of exclusive to our Patreon group as well to kind of narrow that down. And we're still going to do meet and greets and stuff like that at the draft, obviously. But just a way for us to give back to those who are supporting the channel. We appreciate everybody in here. Nebraska Rev says, hey, Clay, no question today. Just wanted to share. I just simulated a draft where I traded picks to just pile up picks from 60 to 160. I know it's not happening in real life, but it made me have to think about a lot of the third and fourth rounders that aren't usually around at our normal picks. Also makes you look at guys no one else is talking about. I think that's a fascinating exercise there, Rev. I do. Me and again, too. I love that you emphasize, like, this will never happen. But when you do stuff like that, you think outside of the box, you get to see the draft from a different angle. If you just continue to pick the same spot, Tim, we've done it, right?
Yeah, we did it with the corner first round. We did it with the wide receiver first round. I almost think we should kind of take Rev's his advice here. Maybe we should run a mock same thing, right?
Let's, just trade back a ton, right?
Load up on those mid round picks, man, and see how things shape up for us. I mean, it's not the craziest thing,
right? Oh, here we go. United Bates doing the work for us. Appreciate you, man. Swerple offensive line started at center last 3 years. Looks like. Do you know what school and everything, Bates? If you don't care, throw that in there. And I'm going to write it down here. Swerple offensive line. And this is just, again, if you guys get time in the chat, when you mention prospects like this, put as much information in as you can. Okay. Minnesota State or Minot State, Minute State. You ever heard of that?
Minot State.
I might not stay here tonight. But
might be a good option at center there.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Good catch, Bates. That's awesome.
Looks like it's North Dakota. Cool. Thank you, Biz.
Yeah, North Dakota. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Next we got Emilio. Love it, Rev. Let's see. This might be inappropriate. I should have read this before. About got me canceled a half a dozen times. Love it, Rev. That's what I've been saying. Pull up some picks. Get us a handful at 150 and below, and in the draft with like 5 picks of earlier quality. Emilio, I've been playing Madden. That's the way to do it, Madden, Tim.
Yeah,
scouting late round scouting, trade back, low salary cap hits, find a couple gems, and as Emilio would say, call it a day. So
I haven't played Madden since Barry Sanders was on the cover, but I still remember.
I bet you do remember, sir. I bet you do. All right, that's it for the Patreon group. Appreciate everybody helping us out with that. Tim, I think we did good, man. We covered everything I wanted to hit on here this evening. I know some people want a mock draft. We're going to hold off on that. We'll do it another time. When there's only 2 of us, I like to keep it to just less than an hour. But when we got multiple people, obviously, we want to give people an opportunity to talk. So you got anything else you want to hit on, Tim? Anything at all, man?
No, looking forward to a mock, though. We'll do one in the coming days, right? I'm sure we've got plenty in store as we get closer to the draft, right?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it, man. We got plenty of time. So, again, just a quick glance. We won't go through the entire schedule again. But starting tomorrow, early player arrival. So you're going to see place kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers arriving tomorrow to the combine. So we get to see those walk-ins, Tim. I'm excited about my boy. I'm telling you, the one that I look at and I go true three tech, man, Kenneth Grant, I think is my guy that looks realistic. There's a chance he could fall. There is. So in terms of those defensive linemen that may or may not be there, Mason Graham 1, Kenneth Grant 2. Let's see who's next. Walter Nolan 3, barely over top of Derek Harmon, who's 4. Who else do we have in here? Tyleek Williams would be the 5th best. Alfred Collins would be the 6th best. And
Darius Alexander, don't forget about him.
Yeah, he's so much lower on our board than everyone else's. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see where he ends up. Matter of fact, let me just do it real quick. I want to remind everybody. I'm only reminded because I want to know, because I keep forgetting, why is he so low on our board? He's in the 104 spot, Tim, right? 104. And here's why he's in the 104 spot. PFF grades were he was 109th, then 43rd, then 4th. That's not hurting him. That's got him somewhere in the 20s if we just went off that alone. But the PFF big board at the end of the year had him 175, and the consensus big board had him at 193. He got the 5-point bonus from the Senior Bowl where he dominated out there. Dane Brugler has him at 67. So 33rd team and Daniel Jeremiah don't have him listed yet, which means he's outside of the 33rd team's top 100. This was pre-Senior Bowl, okay? And that's the information I want to go into our board as much as possible. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in the top 50. So he could come out of the combine, and again, we're going to be giving RAS bonuses as well, guys. So he could potentially earn another 5 points with RAS bonus. That's another thing we've entered, Tim. It's RAS season now, baby. We're going to start getting that information flying in. Everybody go follow Math Bomb over on X. Okay, Math Bomb. He's the guy who created the RAS, the relative athletic score. It's again, I don't think NFL teams are using RAS. They may be. I don't think they are. But RAS is our version of what teams use as an athletic score, right? So it's like, okay, this is a good way to compare and contrast, kind of compare apples to apples across the board. So anyway, got players arriving tomorrow. We'll be in here tomorrow night for PTA Live at 7 p.m. Central Time. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us this evening. You guys and gals were awesome. I just want to remind everybody, Fred McFarley was as shocked as we were when he said, "Damn, I agree with A-Fan." So there you go. A-Fam is our whipping boy in here. Tim, thank you for your time, bud.
Thanks for having me, Clay. This is awesome. See you tomorrow, man.
Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.